Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Roseville Wrecking Ball. The Roseville Wrecking Ball.
Joshua Shrum. He is a very talented steward, very knowledgeable.
The Roseville Wrecking Ball. This is one of those podcasts where I listen to every episode. I love what he's putting out there.
The Roseville Wrecking Ball. Josh Shrum.
Parcels of knowledge. Does a fantastic job with that podcast.
The Roseville Wrecking Ball. He is an Article 8 scholar, and thank God. We need Article 8 scholars right now.
Tune into the Parcels of Knowledge podcast while you're on the route. That's the mailman's playbook, brother.
Good morning or evening, since this is being recorded in the evening, but it's most likely going to be listened to tomorrow morning. And welcome back to Parcels of Knowledge, the podcast dedicated to delivering knowledge to the city letter carrier with your host, the Roseville Wrecking Ball. Today we got our Wrecking Crew Roundtable. It's the first of its kind, so it may have a little bit of flaws that we're going to hammer out over time. But I think that we got a good group of guests here, and I'm excited, to be honest. The crew chose the topic of mutual respect. And the way it's going to work is I've got 5 sub-questions about that theme, and then they're going to say whatever they got to say about the topic, give some advice, talk about things. They're based on the questions that people talk about the most in regards to mutual respect. So before we get into the good stuff, we're going to have everyone go around and introduce themselves. And I'm not going to go in any particular order. It just looks like it's possibly alphabetic, but I don't care. All right, first, we're going to have this person. I'm asking them to unmute. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hey, Justice Josh. My name's Abraham Asgar. 20-year letter carrier. Became a steward last October, and really happy to be here. Thank you for all the knowledge you're dropping on us in the podcast.
Hey, good to have you. All right, next in line, please unmute and introduce yourself.
My name is Chris Angeloff from Youngstown, Ohio. I've been with the Postal Service for 7 years, informal, formal, the EEO representative, and I've been doing TAs and arbitrations. That's pretty interesting too. So,
awesome. Good to have you here. Let's see. Next, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Gary Weeks. I'm just a regular rank and file. Branch 182, Dayton, Ohio. And hey, I love you guys.
Awesome. Let's see. Next in line, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hey, I'm Jamie Gregory. I'm a steward out of Virginia Beach, Virginia, branch 2819. Since October. I did it a couple years ago, but came back to it, and I've been in carrier for about 12 years. So glad to be on and chit chat a little bit.
Awesome. Let's see. Next is you. Would you like to unmute yourself? I'm not sure if he's participating. Oh, there he goes.
Hey, what's up, Josh? This is Misael Guzman. I'm trying to get this thing set, and hopefully you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Holy moly, your audio is crisp.
Oh,
yeah, that's mint. Yeah, it's
okay,
great.
Perfect. All right. Well, unfortunately, my camera's not working, but at least you get my voice. So cool. Thanks for having me, man. This is Misael Guzman from Houston.
Awesome. Let's see. Next in line, would you like to meet yourself and introduce?
Rick Steiner, Xenia Associate Office, Dayton, Ohio, Branch 182. Been a letter carrier 5 years, shop steward 3, formal A rep 1.5.
Awesome. Good to have you here.
And my hometown is Roseville, Michigan.
Yep.
So me and Josh have that in common.
All right. And last but not least, would you like to introduce yourself?
Tom Perry, Branch 887, Provo, Utah, branch president. Um, yeah, I don't, I don't know if there's any questions, but yeah, I've been a fan of the podcast and anxious to discuss with my fellow carriers, man. I think this is awesome.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. You heard it here, folks. We got a badass crew today. And so first, we're going to start with, let's see what the question is. How does constant GPS tracking and the daily monitoring of stationary events impact the physical, routine, and mental well-being of letter carriers? And what is the most effective strategies for defending against accusations of time theft based solely on scanner data? The way it's going to work is we're going to give everyone 5 minutes to discuss whatever they got to talk about the topic. If you need me to repeat the question, I'm going to do it one more time anyway, even if you don't need me to. I'm just going to do it again before we call on our first guest. We're going to do it in reverse order. I think that's what we'll do. Alphabetical, reverse alphabetical. So once again, the first question is, how does constant GPS tracking and daily monitoring of 5-minute stationary events impact the physical routine and mental well-being of letter carriers? And what's the most effective strategy for defending against accusations of time theft based solely on scanner data? All right, first is you. Would you like to answer that question?
Well, yeah, since management can't discipline solely on GPS data, that's going to be your backbone in the fight. So you have to target on that as your main facts and contentions. And then outside of that, because your question was pretty loaded, man, but what does it do on the mental health? Yeah, use those arguments as well, because for us carriers, we're out there and we know we're being constantly monitored and watched. And so, depending on where you're at, if management's saying, hey, we're watching you, we're tracking you all the time, so you feel that constant urge to keep moving. Don't let your scanner or yourself be stationary for any longer than 10, 15 minutes. And that includes your lunch. And of course, your lunch is a different situation because you've got 30 minutes and they're tracking that as well. So, and depending on whether management wants to continue to harass you by saying, hey, I saw you were out at this street at this location, you were at Little Caesars too long or whatever, that will mess with a carrier by saying, man, I really don't have the privacy that I've been afforded to. And one of the things that I've noticed too is, like, if you get caught up talking with the customer, like a gang box or something like that, and they're just asking you about a package you're looking for or hold or something like that, you can find yourself talking a little bit too long. And then you look at your watch and you're like, holy cow, I've been here 18, 20 minutes. This is probably going to get flagged, which you're doing your job and you're doing the service, but that'll always be part of your mind frame as you're out there delivering. So.
Okay. You yielding your time?
Yep.
Okay. That was pretty good. I like that. Let's see. Next in line is you. Would you like to say anything about the topic?
I don't get emotional about management running their mouth because it's usually nonsense coming out of it. So I don't care until they ask me any direct questions. I don't even let it bother me that they may be watching me. I know some people, and everyone's different. I know some people are affected by the thought that they're being monitored. But so what? If they don't do anything with the information, there's no harm, no foul. I advise carriers, if management confronts you, say, I was working, and follow that up with, why? What did you see? And if they confess to using breadcrumbs, then the next word to come out of your mouth is, I need to see my shop steward.
All right.
And that's it. That's all I've got on it.
All right. Let's see. Perfect. Would you like to say anything as well, Ms. Yale? Miziel.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm here, man. It's
Perfect.
this thing is this is my first time using Zoom. Hopefully you can hear me. I was trying to get the video to start showing, but so the question was, what does this do to letter carriers? It affects everybody differently. And that's why my go-to whenever I talk to a potential grievant is what's going on? Like trying to draw out what's going on with them, what their concerns are, because I know I'm a little bit more jaded about a lot of this shit that happens. So I want to give full attention to what they're concerned about. You know, kind of like my kids, like they didn't grow up like I did. Their concerns are way different, but their intensity of the attention they give to those minor things that I potentially may see as minor are a big thing to them. And that's how I try to listen to people and try to figure out, well, what is it that what's going on? What happened, first of all, in the real world, right? Then, how did that make you feel? And then, well, what do you want out of this? These are kind of basic questions that I try to use. And, I do try to let them know, like, hey, look, ultimately, I'm not gonna lie to you, they could do whatever they want. Now, it doesn't mean that we're going to let it happen with nothing, but our job is to obey now, grieve later, and when it comes to breadcrumbs and that kind of stuff, I think as stewards, we need to get used to asking for that information effectively. Don't ask if you know the answer is not going to be beneficial. It's all part skill, part strategy, like James Henry says, Um, you have to consider a lot of things, and that's why the grievant is the first person that you have to talk to, in my opinion, to figure out what's going on, to try to gain rapport to where they can be honest with you about what really happened, and then see if you could develop a good strategy to try to help them out. If it's a dignity and respect issue, well, we need to draw out what we want them to tell us what the harm is. When I first started my first year, shit, I was finding harm everywhere. I was very creative. But as I carried on, it's like I want to know what their issue is because potentially they could stand in front of an arbitrator and they need to believe it. So I just got better at that with time, and that's all really. It was general, but it applies to breadcrumbs being watched on the street and that kind of stuff, and hopefully it applies to other stuff too.
Awesome. You all set with your time?
Yeah, that's it. I yield my time. I don't really think I have anything else to contribute because I'd have to know the specific situation. That's just how I operate. So I'm not trying to be, evasive, but it's just it would happen the specific situation.
I like
That's
it.
it. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see. Next in line is this person. Would you like to speak on the subject? Oop. I think something's going on with your internet. Would you repeat that?
Barriers. The idea that somebody may or may not track them. Everybody in the world. But most of them do know that, like, if you come back to the office and the manager takes you aside and just, oh, hey, so you were over here, because they'll be very buddy buddy about it, which is something I warn people is they're going to be like your best friend until you say something stupid, and then in a week when they pull you in for a PDI, you're going to see everything you said, thinking you guys were just chit chatting in that PDI. Luckily, we haven't really had a lot of those issues here because between me and the other steward, they know if they go that route, that it's generally just going to be a waste of their time. Because like everybody else said, carriers will say, I was just working, or, oh, you should know you were out.
I think your audio cut out. I think you're having audio issues. I can't hear you. Yep, I can hear something now. I guess we'll have to come back to Jamie if he gets his audio fixed. All right, we'll move on. Yep.
All right, so this is going to be really quick. Just as a rank and file, myself, I am a 25-year vet, 5 combat tours, 2 non-combat. What management does to me does not matter. It does not affect me. Um, what I do to beat it is simply anytime that I get a package that says, "Oh, you're 2 miles off," I take a picture of it. That proves that GPS doesn't work. Bottom line. So, other than that, I mean, I understand that other people get anxiety. They have issues, mental issues, but management just doesn't bother me. So I yield my time.
All right, thank you. Let's see, would you like to go?
Yeah. Defending carriers in PDIs, or INIs, what we call them PDIs over here, pre-disciplinary interviews. A lot of places are INIs, but I don't forget who said it, but you're working. I mean, that's what you're doing. I ask usually when I'm in one of these investigative interviews, I usually ask management follow up. Well, where were you at? Where's the 4584? Where's the 4588 or 89? I mean, what were you doing? Also, a lot of times management will come back. Well, your national president signed off on this in the memos. That was referring to the TRAP memos. Or TIRAP, however you want to pronounce it, when we did the joint venture for route inspections. But I said, yeah, but that also expired on 5/31 of 2024, so we can't use them anymore. And usually, it's a little combative, a little bit with management, but I don't let them bully and just lead the carrier down like a puppy dog into their trap they're trying to set up. A lot of their questions are also loaded. They're double questions. I tell them separate that. Like a one all the time is like, oh, last time we had this job discussion with you, your union steward was present, and was your union steward present? That's 2 questions there. It's like we had a job discussion with you, or we formed you on it, and then your steward was there. Well, when was the steward there? What are you talking about? When exactly? But as far as stationary events, based on scanner data, I am firm with when going into the INI, and I let that put in there when we have notes and we take notes, and it's covert exercises if it's just scanner data alone. This comes up also besides stationary events with the scanning of packages now, being in that geofence. So, I mean, it's the same thing. It's not fair. The carriers fall into stuff. You just got to prepare them for the PDIs or INIs, whatever you want to call them. So that's what I got for them. I mean, and usually if you ask for those PS Form 4584s, the 88s and 89s, there's a lot of information in there that could get them out of discipline, depending on what the supervisor says, and also interview those supervisors, whoever signed that one too. So that's how I handle that stuff. So that's pretty much I'm yielding my time.
All right, thanks. See, we're going to go to Abraham, and then we're going to go back to Jamie because it looks like he left and came back. So maybe he fixed his audio issues. But first, we're going to go to Abraham.
So yeah, this is what I got, Josh. It's all about building confidence with the carriers. I remember the whole scanner data. It came out when we used to carry the little phones. We had a cell phone with the scanner, if you guys remember, and we had to carry both of them with us. This was about 10, 15 years ago. So I used to leave my scanner in the truck back in the day and just deliver my loot because we didn't have the parcels. But when they started with the whole tracking every minute, what I do now, and it's helped me out, like I said, with confidence, I time my 10-minute breaks, 10 minutes and 10 minutes, 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the afternoon, and 30 minutes for lunch. Anything else that's stationary, if they ask me, I'm like, hey, I was working. I'm working. And if they ask me about my 10-minute breaks, I'm like, hey, I time my 10-minute breaks. It got to the point where they're just like, hey, we know where you take your breaks at. We know when you take your lunch. And that's that, And if they come to me and they ask me about a stationary event, my answer is to that question is I was working. So I yield my time.
All right. Let's see. Now, Jamie, you're going to have one more opportunity. Let me ask to unmute you.
Okay, yeah. I don't know where it cut off, so I'll just keep it brief. But basically the biggest thing I guess I try to instill in carriers is that when they ask you questions, they're not innocent because they wouldn't be asking you otherwise. And so to treat every conversation you have, even if most people will say, well, I didn't do anything wrong. I'm like, I agree, you probably didn't do something wrong, but because of how these scanners work and how they sometimes don't work, if it looks like you're in one place for 30 minutes or 20 minutes or 11 minutes, they'll do that. But I always bring it up with carriers because we had a carrier in my office who was an older carrier, got hurt, and they'll grill us about an 11-minute stationary event, but then let this person be sitting out there for an hour and a half by themselves and not say a word. So when they ask you about these things, they're not innocent, and people need to treat those conversations as if it's just like we do. When we ask questions, it's usually not an innocent question. If I go to a manager, go, hey, what went on here? So it's big on that because I think a lot of people kind of have that, I don't want to say buddy buddy relationship, but I think sometimes they think, oh, everything's going good, nobody's going to give me any grief, and then they say something they probably shouldn't have said. So that's all I've got.
All right. I like this so far. I think it's working out pretty good. Let me see. All right, so let's move on to the next topic. I'm gonna hold off because today's not about me. I want to get what you guys think about these topics instead of me myself. I got all the time in the world to go record a podcast. But the next topic we're going to be talking about PS Form 3996, and I'm just going to give a general situation because we've all had times where on the PS Form 96, you would indicate that you're going to go over, and then it turns into a difficult conversation where a supervisor's being particularly, violating mutual respect, telling you conflicting instructions like, hey, I don't care what you got to say, you're going to get this route done in 8 hours, you're going to get all the mail delivered and bring it back in 8 hours. So what is some advice you would give to a carrier who is dealing with that type of situation? Like, how would you handle the conversation? And I'm going to go through it the same way I did before, but backwards. I'm going to do alphabetical again instead of reverse alphabetical. So we're going to start with Abraham.
So with the 96, I mean, you fill out your 96 if you think you're going to go over, of course. And if they deny your 96, you have two options. You either bring it back at the time that they tell you, or you give them a call and put the ball back in their court. Like, hey, look, I can't make this time. Let's just say that you requested 45 minutes. Hey, I can't make the 45 minutes. What do you want me to do? If they tell you to deliver the mail, that was your last instructions. You know what I'm saying? If they tell you to deliver the mail and be back, that's like a double negative, which creates a positive. You deliver the mail and you bring it back. I mean, if they tell you to bring it back, please, if they tell you to bring it back, fill out the 1571. Put down the streets that you brought back. Say instructed by management to bring this back. And that's what I got. I yield the rest of my time.
Perfect. Next is Chris.
I just had a labor management meeting with one of the AO offices I'm in about this topic too. And they're using they're pivoting out like 2 3 routes a day in the smaller office, and the carriers are calling in, and they're getting tired of it. They're skipping late bunches of breaks. And I go out there, and we did a labor management meeting with my union president, and we asked them what do they want to see in a 96, and as far as management, and management says like, oh, they can't just put heavy mail, and what came down to it is the counts they have, and the all the information they have when they do the pivot plan are from DOIS and PET. But the one thing it doesn't account for is your packages when you have like park and loop and stuff like that. You still got to deliver the mail, but all my packages on my tail end of my route, I have to usually hop off, especially if they don't fit in a bag or I don't go over that 35 pounds. So you have to write that on there as reasons. Also, when you say heavy mail, if you normally have 2 trays of DPS, and all of a sudden you have 4 or 5, or a direct mailer piece in there, door to door for everything, 100% coverage, you got to put that down on the 96. And there's ways you can like Google and search for reasons of it. I mean, I'm sure we all did that early on, but you have to tweak it out to what you're doing right then and there. And as far as the people aren't talking about their own route. And they don't have a route. The CCAs, the unassigned regulars, the PTFs. That time is based off of $39.99 off the regular carrier usually. That's not your time. You're not familiar with the route. You don't be afraid to put down unfamiliar with route. Or first time doing the route. I mean, you put down whatever you want. And you don't need to get anxiety over that too, because probably 99% of the time they're going to write back denied. Or if you ask for an hour and they give you only 45 minutes, who cares? Take it, get a copy of it, call in, whatever your policy is in your branch. Ours is around 2:00. We should call in or notify management. Some carriers do play the game with I'm not using my cell phone because it's, the Postal Service has to supply it. Go ahead and do that, whatever you want to do. I mean, it's just, why would you make it harder on yourself? But we'll do one thing at the end of the day. If you do bring back time, I forgot who said it, but make sure you do the 1571. But I fill out a PM 96. I tell everybody to fill out a PM 96 just to cover your butt. If you're bringing back time on that, or if you go over your allotted time, don't trust management's phone call unless you have it in writing, a text message. Okay, go ahead, finish your route. Okay, fill out the PM 96 saying CAM 96, or also what you want to do there is say, I went over 2 hours. I asked for 2 hours. You gave me a half hour, whatever you want to do. But just get a copy of that and make a file, because your steward's going to need them, because magically every time you ask for something, it disappears, when you really, really need it. So that's pretty much all I got. I mean, you learn as you go too. Don't be frustrated with this, but that's all.
All right. That's a good one. Let's see. Your turn. You're up next.
Damn. All right. So with the 96s, that is actually an issue in my office. I have a small office, 11 regular routes, and nobody wants to take the 2 minutes to fill out the 96. I keep telling them it's a CYA. Fill it out. If you need overtime, fill it out. Get a copy of it. They don't want to do it. But anyway, that being said, look, the CY or 96 is it not only helps you, it helps the entire office, because it covers route adjustments. Whatever the case is, it really does help everybody else out. So I really don't have anything else to say other than that. I do got 2 things because I have 5 minutes. One, this is my wife here, if you can't see her in the back.
I'd like to join if you don't mind, ladies.
She will. She is also a carrier. Okay.
Nice.
And Mr. Steiner, he is He is a beast. Okay, I'm just telling you that right now. He's a beast. So I love you, brother. Other than that, hey, I yield my time.
Awesome. Let's see. Next is you, Jamie.
Okay, without trying to go over some of the same stuff other people went over, I would say one of the big things is, letting people know when you fill out a 96, you need to get an actual answer before you leave. You don't throw it on the desk, you don't give it to them and then walk off because quite often I'll find issues is when somebody does that. They just throw it on the desk, walk away, and like other people have said, it just disappears. Um, and so it's, making sure you actually see a signature, not even just a verbal, oh, yeah, yeah, I'll get your time. Because once it's on that desk, it's just like a black hole if it doesn't have a signature attached to it. Getting a copy is a big thing. But also, one of the biggest things I've noticed, especially with Article 8s, and, trying to find out what did the work assignment or an 8-hour carrier go over here when maybe they weren't supposed to, is making sure that people fill out those 96s when they're doing their splits, if they're double casing, and also, not letting management actually fill those out at all. That's something that I've had to address a couple times, walking by and seeing one of my manager's handwriting all over a 96. And it's getting better because when I first came to my station, I don't think most people even knew what a 96 was because people just didn't fill them out. You would tell them, and the managers usually would just go in and put an hour and a half, or they would put 2 hours in and then just adjust it later. So that's one big thing. I think the other big one is when you're out on the street, notifying them, because I know a lot of people don't like to argue. They don't want to have the fights. And that's where, using the RIM system comes in and just sending the message of what you still need if they denied it, or if you need more or whatever it is. Because I know for at least our local managers, they do not like getting into arguments or doing anything over the scanner because they know people can see it. So generally they will either say, keep going, come back, or they'll send help. Only in certain cases will they do the whole, you were instructed to do your route in 8 hours and deliver all the mail. And I always tell people like, hey, it's about your comfort level. So if you want to take that to mean you need to deliver everything, and we'll deal with the unauthorized overtime if that's how they try to handle it. Or if you come back and you say, hey, what do you want me to do? And that becomes an issue, like other people have said, that 1571 is going to take away any argument they have of, you just came and dropped mail off and took off. So I think that's a big one. And then, the PM 96s, that's a favorite here. The managers love when somebody asks for a PM 96 or to amend their, 96 from the day, earlier in the day. So those would be the big things I would say, because everybody knows how contentious a 96 is. It doesn't need to be. I have no problems. I ask for an hour, and I have the same feelings if I have to ask for 3 hours, and one of those is just not engaging in arguments with management about it because it's just a pointless endeavor. So I'll yield whatever I have before I get buzzed off. So.
All right. So, Ms. Yell, your turn.
Yeah. So when I came into the post office in 07, one of the big things that I kept hearing the senior letter carriers say was, oh, I'm going to charge you for that. I'm going to charge you for that. And contrary to what goes on now at the offices is, hey, we need you to come back and get some parcels and this and that. They come back, they don't take notes on how much time it took to get back to the station, then get back to then doing the backtracking of those parcels, and then get to their last point where they first headed off to the station. That's where your time for your route resumes. Anything above that was management's basically giving you overtime, and you need to document it. You need to let them know, hey, by the way, you had me come back, go deliver some parcels. And so that took me about 45 minutes, or that took me about an hour, because I'm still going to walk at the same pace the rest of my route. I am not going to hurry. That time is what you decided you were going to give me. Next time, go send a CCA to go deliver those parcels if that's really what you want. But I'm going to charge you because, a way that it makes sense to me is we're sort of like contractors in a lot of the things that we do. We keep our own records because management is not going to keep them in reality. We keep track. We get there, we look at our DPS, we look at our parcels, we look at our caseable mail. We should not be off. Well, typically, well, I have a walking route, so it's pretty consistent. I know it's difficult with like businesses or MBU boxes or things like that where it could get a little weird, but we should try to work towards being a professional letter carrier. Work towards it. We're not all going to make it or be perfect or anything like that. We work towards it to where we're not going to deviate and aim for about 15 minutes, more or less, and try to be consistent, and work towards being more credible to management, to where it means something. If I say, you know what, no, I really mean I'm going to get an hour. I need an hour. Like I'm telling you, I had a CSON once. He wanted to play supervisor, and he was like, "Every day, every route you get on, you need an hour." And I'm like, "Well, sir, I don't know about every other route, and I don't know about every other day, but I know today I need an hour." So you reduce it back to, validate them. They want to go ahead and play games or whatever. Validate what their opinions are. Fine. That may be so, sir, but I know today is not like that. And keep records. There is a book called I forgot what it's called. The author's name is David Allen, Getting Things Done. And one of the things he recommends is keeping a quote capture device. So I always keep a little notepad in my breast pocket with my pen. And when things like, well, I got to go back to the station, write down the time. And it really helps to put in the time on the left and then what you're doing on the right. Travel to, whatever, 9 a.m., travel to first stop, 9:30, return to station. Those little things, and especially when you're being targeted. And we know when we're being targeted. Somebody mentioned that people have a hard time turning in 96s. Well, it's because they're not really being targeted, and they're probably not concerned about Article 8 grievances of documenting that somebody requested time, because there's this symbiotic relationship between management and that non-ODL where they get a little overtime and management gets a little whatever, and that could be going on too. So, but when management starts dropping the hammer, it's definitely important. The way we did, I think when I first started, we set up the situation where, well, what we were facing was that management was like, no, you don't get, no, what you need a 96 for? And it's like, well, he's not telling me I don't need a 96, but he's asking me in a way that most people are going to walk away, but I'm not going to walk away. I'm going to go ahead and say, well, I need a 96 because I need to let you know that I'm going to go over today if I don't get any auxiliary. And that's where like tone, we need to like bring it back and just listen to the words, focus on the words, and I know it's hard because a lot of us we have triggers. Thanks, man. We have triggers, but we got to go ahead and just put those aside as carriers and be like, all right, what the fuck is he saying? I'm sorry. Can we curse, Josh? I apologize.
Well, that was just the, you weren't here when I explained the rules. That was the,
oh shit.
Hey, by the way,
cut off.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So we're good to go, right?
Yeah.
You have more to say before you wrap up?
No, that's it, man. That was it.
Okay,
Thank
cool. That was a good one. Sorry, I felt a little bit bad to cut him off. I was like, oh shit, should I press the button or not? But I did set a standard, so I can't really break it. So your turn, Rick.
Yeah, I don't have much to add to what everybody else has said other than, keep calm, stay cool. Let management, show their ass if that's what they choose to do. Just ask for the form. You fill it out as you see fit. I keep a copy of some memos posted at my case, M1664, M1769, M304, and M1444. All of them say that there's no street standards. There's no DOAS or PET telling me what The numbers don't matter. The computer doesn't matter. The letter carrier's opinion matters more, if not ultimately. The best thing you can do is I like to look right in their eyes and not blink because it freaks them out and gets them to walk away. And then ask them if they feel better when we're done. I just have no patience for the intimidation or the harassment or any of that nonsense. Just give me my form, disposition it as you see fit. Make sure you got arrangements to carry the rest of the route if you don't want to give me the overtime. It's not an emotional subject, but I understand that people get emotional about it. I don't. I certainly don't. And someone famous and tough once told me, it's just like taking a crap in the toilet. No job is complete till the paperwork is done. So do the paperwork. We're paid to do it. The M41 tells us we have to do it. So just do it. That's all
Absolutely. All right, thanks. And last but not least, we got Mr. Tom. Here you go. We're not hearing you if you're saying anything, Tom.
All right, how about that? Sorry.
That works.
So yeah, this is the most combative of the situations, and I don't want. There's not really much more I can add that's already been said. But what I would say is, yeah, take the power back. Fill out the form just as you need it, and if management's like, if they even deny the form, then just contact your steward and get that grievance going. And once you get the form, you fill it out as you see fit, like was already said. And if they disapprove it or if they give you any guff about it, just say, I need to see my steward. And hopefully you get to see your steward or talk to him at that point. And then there's even more time that you will have to ask for. So once you get it in your head and once the carriers start to understand, like, I'm the one that determines and gets to dictate how long it's going to take. Management is not going to do that. I mean, they're going to continue to try to push and pressure you. But once you understand that not only is it your right to determine how it goes, because you're the one that's carrying the route for the day, if you have a good steward or union officer that's got your back, you can just say, hey, I need to talk to this steward and make sure that everything's being protected here. And I also echo, the sentiment that later in the day, if you're feeling pressured or whatever, just send them a message on the scanner or call them. But if you call them, take that screenshot, send it to your steward as well. And just say, hey, I still need that time. You said that I was going to make it, Nate. I told you I wasn't. What do you want me to do? I'm waiting instructions. And then if you go over, just let your steward know, because if it's an Article 8 violation or if it's a medical restriction violation or whatever, just keep everything documented, shove everything to your steward. You'll be fine, especially if the steward files and it wins. If it has to go to step B and then everything's on hold and waits for 14 months, that sucks. But that's a different topic for a different day. So,
all right, perfect. Let's see. So I'm going to change the schedule a little bit because of how long it's taking, which is a good thing. I think this is great so far. But I'm going to do one more mutual respect question and then the bonus question. So we're about halfway through here. So next question, and it's less a question, more of a topic, just like the last one. So we all know that there's a probationary period, and CCAs often feel pressured to, impress management and for good reason, because of the fact that you could technically be fired for practically anything, as long as it's not very grievable. We can try sometimes, and we've been successful at times, but oftentimes it's one of those subjects that gets very tough. What kind of advice would you give a CCA within their first 90 days regarding this topic? If you had a CCA in your office that said, hey man, management's pushing me to go really fast, and they're trying to push my boundaries, and I just don't feel comfortable right now. What do I do? And I'm going to start with Tom.
Yeah, this one hits home. The only thing I can say is be consistent and be efficient, but definitely don't run, because shortcuts is what's going to kill you in the end. Even though that's what management wants, that's what you're going to feel like you need to do in order to either save your job or look good or whatever. But consistency is the key. Like if you're taking a route and management says, hey, this should only take you 5.5 hours on the street or whatever, I mean, use that information as a guideline, but if don't beat yourself up if it's going to take you 6 or 7 hours or whatever. Just be consistent. Make sure you're doing the job right, and communicate that with whether it's other CCAs, but with your steward especially. Talk to him about it. Say, hey, he said that it was going to take me 5.5 hours. It took me over. What's my concern? Because if the steward is aware of it, the steward can also talk to the manager and say, hey, the CCA is definitely trying, and the more people you have in behind you and's got your back, the better off you're going to be. But it is difficult, especially if the CCA feels alone and they're just out there and the only people that they're interacting with is that piece of shit supervisor who's just giving them hell about it. That's a tough situation to be in. We got to be empathetic as union people. We got to understand that they need people on their backs to protect them when they need it. So, yeah.
Awesome. Let's see. That was a good answer, man. Rick, you're up next.
Yeah, so I've got a new CCA right now inside their first 30 days. Actually, we're still inside 24 days at this point. And this has already come up, and I've had to run interference with management. I do much the same thing. Tell them to stay efficient, stay safe. Number one, stay safe. Deliver the mail accurately. If you get stuck, shuffle that mail to the bottom of the deck and just take a look around at the addresses and keep moving as best you can. And then I will usually go to management and say, back off, or there's going to be a lot of health and safety grievances coming your way. I'm not shy about just pulling out all my trump cards whenever I have to. If they ain't mowing the grass out front, they get a grievance. If they ain't pulling the weeds, they get a grievance. If they're vaping on the dock, they get a grievance. I just keep them busy so they leave the CCAs alone. That's all I have.
All right. Let's see. Miziel, you're up next.
Yeah, man, CCAs are difficult. Like we're in a tough position, and I like what he said about, sometimes, you have to do everything you can to focus or have management focus on something else, keep them busy doing whatever so they can, you know. But also, I also believe in being honest with the carrier and saying, look, ambiguity is your worst enemy. You really need to try to work towards taking notes. Like if you think a regular needs to take notes, a CCA needs to take notes because automatically, so you have several supervisors in the morning, a different one in the PM, and everyone thinks that everybody else did the right thing and gave you proper instructions as a CCA, but in reality, they had you waiting in the morning. You waited for about an hour and a half before you could get a vehicle. You got sent off, and so many things happened. And as good as we think we are as human beings to remember, nothing beats keeping notes and saying, because look, if management is like, if you go through a route inspection, every minute counts. So if I'm sitting around for 45 minutes waiting for a vehicle and they got, CCA's in violation of the contract, they got them throwing parcels while they're waiting for a vehicle or something, that is not time that they're delivering mail. So in the evening when they get back at 10 o'clock 10 p.m. at night, a lot of the times like, well, I thought I was doing the right thing because you told me to throw parcels and then you gave me all this mail and, like it's good for them to identify what they're doing and get used to it. it's unfortunate. Another thing with CCAs is they like to mess with their time and things like that. And that's the fucking worst because they're stealing from these people. This is just, it pisses me off so bad. So, as stewards, we really need to try to incorporate groups of people to where it's not an individual that, whatever. Like, I'll find something that they did wrong to where I can point to a trigger, right? Every grievance needs a trigger. Find a trigger to where that date, now that's my trigger. Now I can go ahead and encompass all this stuff and, hit that control F and hit 1017A, hit enter, and you'll see all the disallowed time all over the board. Focus on the begin tour and end tours. When those will get changed, uh, talk to the grievant before you, oh, okay. Talk to the grievant to figure it out, whether this was something on them or not, or whether it was, some sort of agreement they had with management, and focus on the people that are like, no, I didn't turn in a 1260 for them to do that. They took my time away. What? Like, it's that kind, it's weird because we're talking about shit that happens, and people outside that don't know the post office, like, they do that shit. Shit, when I came in my first year was like, I saw this lady taking notes. I was like, why are you writing your times down? She goes, oh, yeah, sometimes they steal. I said, really? She's like, yeah. I'm like, all right, I guess. I never checked my stuff. And it wasn't until I became a steward that now I had access. And I was like, oh my gosh. Anyway, it happens. Nobody in management got hurt from me saying that it happens. Okay. So I'm trying to stay neutral, but this shit happens. So that's it, man. I yield my time. We got to protect our CCAs, and I don't care what they've done, but I do try to help them and tell them what the expectations are and not feel like we're going to get them out of everything. They are so vulnerable first 120 days. I don't even mention 90 days. I say 120. Because believe me, you're not going to work 90 days straight. It's 120. So just focus on 120. Don't think about 90. And then try to help them out through that. And that's it. But that's it, man. That's my time. That's how I feel.
Perfect. Let's see. Jamie, you're up next.
Well, I have strong feelings about the CCAs. As somebody who, I was an RCA and a CCA for about 5 years. And in that time, I saw, obviously, we can sit here and talk about all the things managers do. And I'm not going to go super much on that as much as on the carriers, because one of the things I noticed the most is when you have carriers not helping out CCAs. I think a lot, it's not as bad as it used to be, because it used to be a lot of like, hey, you're taking my overtime. Hey, you're not delivering stuff correctly. So one of the biggest things I've been pushing is going after carriers, saying, hey, if a CCA, especially a new CCA, is taking time off of you, or they're going to be you're splitting a route for them, do not give management your times for how long it's going to take you as somebody who's done this multiple times. Give this the times out that you think it would take somebody else. So if it takes you an hour, add some time to that. Like I usually tell people, it's usually going to take a brand new CCA double what it takes you. So tell the managers that, because it's just like with the 96s, we're dictating how long this is going to take. And being a presence in each of the CCA's lives, especially when they first start. At least once a week, I call them. I come up to them and ask them, "Hey, how's it going? Are you having any issues?" Um, I know a lot of people have some thoughts about the NERT program, but I think we were one of the pilot places for it. So we've had it for a long time, and it can work, but stewards actually have to file grievances on them, working past 8. Them not giving some of the orientation stuff they're supposed to, whether it's walking around together, like actually enforcing those things. Because even though there's a lot of stuff that we can be hesitant to grieve because it's a CCA and we don't want some of the attention on them that some of the older regulars can deal with. There's a lot of surrounding issues that we can grieve as kind of you guys better make sure you're doing what you're supposed to right, or else it's like somebody else said, like we're just going to start throwing stuff at you. But I do think a big part of that is getting your carriers in the office to actually look out for them. If they see them doing something wrong, I tend to tell people to come tell me so that they're not getting, 20 pieces of advice. But it's especially the mentor stuff is getting actual mentors and making sure that they're checking in with them. And like that's the biggest thing I think is communication. A lot of the CCAs are just new. They don't know what they can or can't do. And so I think the biggest part of that is communicating with them. If they're having a bad day, getting to be their therapist and letting them know, hey, it's gonna get better. You're gonna have some rough days, but it's gonna get better. And yes, keeping track of everything. And I always tell them anything weird, just write it down and text it to me at the end of the day or end of the week. And I'll let you know, hey, yeah, you can do that. Hey, you shouldn't be doing that. Then I think us putting pressure on carriers and obviously managers, like at least I know in my office, for the most part, they leave them alone. They give them enough that they'll be able to get back in 8, but they won't give them too much because they also know if I see that they work past 8, I'm just going to file a grievance. I'm not even going to ask the CCA why. I'm just going to file the grievance because it's on management to know, communicate. I tell them, always tell a manager, but it's actually filing those grievances that we don't need a CCA statement necessarily. So that way they're not under the gun. So I'll yield whatever time I have left.
Awesome. It looks like only Ms. Yell went over the time so far. I didn't expect that, to be honest. I thought everyone would be. Let's see. Next is G Whiskey.
All right, guys. So my thought is, first of all, CCAs, they help me go home, right? They help me go home at the end of the day. So the bottom line is, I do everything that I can to help them out. I'm an OJI, so the first thing I tell them is one, putting mail in the box is not the hardest part of the job. We have to deal with so much stress from management, so much stress from the customers that expect a certain. I'm not going to get into that, but anyway, the second thing I tell them is don't go at a retirement pace, go at a no mistake pace. And I didn't make that up. I got that from somebody else, right? A no mistake pace. So I'm not telling you to run. I'm not telling you to walk. I'm telling you to do your job and don't make mistakes. I have a packet that goes over our local lingo. What we call, pumpkins, what we call, whatever.
Don't be afraid to do your
Look,
job.
I love my CCAs. The CCAs are our future. And don't be afraid of management. If there's anything that you have an issue with, come to me. I will guide you. I am not only an OJI, I'm a mentor. All right. I will guide you. And look, my steward is amazing. He is awesome. He is a beast. Yeah, okay. Don't keep grinning, Mr. Steiner. He is a beast, okay? He will look over management's shoulder and point to the screen and show him what he's talking about. I've seen it personally. Look, he is a beast.
You're gonna go over your time.
I know.
No, you still got 3 minutes.
Yeah, I still got 3 minutes.
Well, I'll
Man.
enjoy and hope I don't go over my time next time.
So, my CCAs, my PTFs even, they help me go home at the end of the day. Absolutely. And I want to go home to my dogs, to my wife. I want to cook dinner. They help me. So I'm not going to lead them in the wrong direction. At the same time, I know they're told that the union can't do anything for you within your 90 days. And we all know that is not true. They're limited. Yes, we are limited to what we can do. But that is not true, that the union cannot help you. So I yield my time. I love you guys.
All right, that was pretty cool. Yeah, next time we got to have you on, but G Whiskey's your ticket in because he's a member of the Wrecking Crew. You got to come. We'll talk about that anyway. Next is Chris.
I was, for the longest time, the first person from the union that all the trainees seen, or I was representing of what the face of NLAC is to the letter carriers on their day one of orientation, because other representatives didn't see how I seen it. I think because when I got hired in 2019, one thing that stuck in my head is I believe Jamie or maybe G Whiskey said it, something about the CCAs are the future. So 2/3 of the stat that stuck in my head was 2/3 of the post office of over 600, between 600 to 700,000 people are going to be retiring. So that means at every level, there's going to be new faces. I'm a new face compared to some of the people around, but now that dynamic is changing. So I figured that was very important. So I looked at that class as like, how do I survive? How did I survive? What did I need done? What advice did I pick up from an old timer that helped me get through? So I never was in the military, but like having a backpack, dry socks, keep your feet dry. If you can't afford waterproof stuff, get a Walmart bag or a bag just like you did when you were a little kid. Keep aspirin, Band-Aids with you. Bring change of clothes. I'm in Northeastern Ohio. It could be 4 seasons in a day. I mean, you'll be shivering out there if you don't have the right apparel. So dress in layers, stuff like that. Another thing too is I really wanted this NERP program to take off, but in my branch it hasn't because there's not mentors, and I really didn't. I really didn't like the fact that when I went to all this training and even including the last one in Boston, I mean, I argued. I say, hey, I've been told we can't even grieve this stuff. My Step B team tells me there's other avenues like EEO or the whistleblowers. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. This is Article 19. If you pick up and read the 2006 DOS Award, it tells you what you can and can't do or what articles can and can't. And Article 19 is one of them. And what is the NERP program? It's M Document 2010. So right then and there, that should be available for you to grieve. So it's like work safe, do the best you can, learn that saying. I'm working safely. Remember that. Lock your doors, curb your wheels, stuff like that. It's really tough out there for these CCAs because it took me a while to get up to speed. Also, I was way different than I am now. I'm right around 250, but I was like 300 pounds at the time I started. But walking them 20,000 steps a day to 25,000 steps a day helped out. So I got healthier. But this is a career. This isn't a job. That's what you got to. I mean, you got to put in these younger generations' heads. Explain the benefits of what happens in 5 years as a career when your vacation jumps to 6 hours. What happens in 15 years? You got to explain that to them. Explain what top table is. Explain how long it gets there. 12 years for that. Unfortunately, show them why people could support a family, even though right now with the cost of everything, but it's still better than your other job. You might get that fast food job for $25 an hour, but what's the top scale? You're not going to be making 40. You're not going to get the overtime. You're not going to have the benefits of sick time, the vacation time, and all the other. You got to explain it to them. But a lot of other people on the podcast right now said also communicate with them. Let them know. Here's my number. Call me. I might not be your steward in your office. Call me. I'll find the right one for you. So you just got to be there for them. I had 22 years in the car business before this. I understand if you're not there when that phone rings or you get back to him or her, they go buy another car somewhere else. Someone else takes care of them. So they might say, oh, the union ain't worth it, whatever. They don't call me back. So make that phone call. communicate. Say, hey, text message. I'll get back to you, and then get back to them. So, I mean, that's what I got. We gotta let them know we're there for us, and not just the new people, everybody. So, I mean, we got to communicate and open that. And I like someone. I don't know who else said it, but even the other carriers, go talk to them. How is John doing? How is Stacy doing? I mean, you go and talk to them and see if they need some help or if they're struggling. I really like that. That's all I have.
Awesome. Oh, you got close. 30 seconds away. Let's see. All right, Abraham. Last
Hey,
but not
Josh.
least.
So, all right. So the question was their 90 days, right?
Yeah,
CCAs
essentially,
and their
what would you give them as advice if they were
so
struggling?
so I put myself in the situation. They had a young man who was going through his 90 days in the beginning of the year, and he got his first evaluation, and they just tore him to shreds. And he was walking out the locker room, and I told him, I was like, bro, nobody gives a shit about that, dude. We all get bad evaluations in the beginning. So I kind of like pulled him to the side. I was like, dude, just keep doing your job, do it efficient, do it safe, and just keep going. Now he's out of the 90 or the 120 or whatever you want to call it. But like I try my best to put myself in their shoes. I remember being in my 90. I had a really difficult supervisor that I still remember till now. She would count down and she'd be like, "Oh, day 70, don't worry. At day 88, you're getting fired." And I remember I didn't know who to go to, so I went to one of the guys who went to the shop steward, and our shop steward was, I think she was the best. May she rest in peace. Name was Sandy Ulrich, and she came to me. I told her what was going on. I was like 88 days in. I thought I was going to get fired. And she tore that supervisor up, where that supervisor came to me and apologized to me. So you just have to be there to hear what they're going through. Like when I caught the young man, he's like, nobody gives a shit about that. And then if they have a problem, either get the steward to step in and handle that problem for them. I'm not the steward in my station. I'm an outside steward. Or just, sometimes you have to let them know, hey, you cannot do this. But other than that, they're in their 120. They do have to work efficiently and safe, but they can't fuck around either and call in and stuff like that. Like, you're still on the probation, bud. Do the job correctly. So, yeah.
All right.
And that's all I got.
I'm glad you guys brought it back around to clarification of the 120. I'm glad nobody's going to be confused about that. So we're going to be asking the bonus question because it's already, it's almost been an hour and a half. So that's pretty cool. I think this has gone pretty smoothly. I like this. This is a cool group of people. I'm glad to see you guys face to face, and I'm excited for the future. Let's make this an even bigger event next time. But next time I'm going to know it's going to have to be a marathon. Maybe it'll be a 2-hour thing or 3-hour, because if there's going to be more people, we're going to have more time. I'm probably going to cut it into 2 episodes, but record it in 1. But either way, let's move on to the last topic. Bonus question. This is not to do with mutual respect, but I think it's relatively interesting and relevant to today, and it is the 4-day, 10-hour proposal, the SNDC, the thing that is supposed to be a pilot program, as far as I know, rumored to be a pilot program. What is your guys' opinion on that? And also, I'm going to give you an extra minute in case you want to take it. This is also your opportunity at the end. This will be the last time you're talking. So the second part of the question is there anything else you'd like to add? Give a shout out to anyone you want, whatever you want to do. Give me your opinion on that 10-hour day thing, and then just close it out, and then I'll close it out at the end. So once again, we're going to go back to being in alphabetical order, and that starts with Abraham again.
All right, so I guess I'll be first, and I'm probably going to piss a lot of people off because I have a different opinion on this. If it was brought up right now for a vote, I would vote no on it, and this is why. I feel like this is a Trojan horse. I've been hearing about the 4 10-hour days since 2012. I had a friend that used to work in DC, and he kind of like, he told me about it. Now, he was on management side, and the way that he pitched it, I was like, that would never happen. What are you talking about? So it was going to be, you work Monday and Tuesday, you're off Wednesday, and you work Thursday and Friday, and you had the weekend off. And then from there on Monday, you take out an A route. Like, let's just say you take out route 1. On Tuesday, you're taking out your B route, and let's say that's route 2. Thursday would be route 1 again. Friday would be route 2. And that would just eliminate a whole bunch of jobs. Also, 10 hours a day, guys, I'm going to be honest with you. It's a lot of wear and tear on the body. You might think that it's easy now. You might, and I know they pitched it with that whole 5 days a week, 5-day off day period. Yeah, that's cool. That's nice. But I'm going to be honest with you. I do not want to be, I don't think it's wise to tie yourself to this job for 10 hours a day, and especially if you have young kids. Your kids, you know, you're going to miss out on a lot, because a lot of stuff happens right after the kids get out of school. So if you get off at 4:30, you know, you're not going to be there for your kids' game or their band recital or something like that. So, and shout out to everybody in Marrero, branch 4323, and shout out to the informal A group. We have an informal A group with stewards in it from pretty much the East Coast to the West Coast, down south. Josh Shrum is in it too. We're growing, and it's a great group of people. It's all letter carriers, no management, no scabs, and it's you know, it's a great group. And Mike Steele, you need to be on here next time. That's all I got, Josh.
All right, good having you on, Abraham. All right, next one is Chris.
All right, shout out to everybody in branch 385 in Youngstown, Ohio. Thanks for dealing with me, the method of my madness, and having patience with going through the grievance process. And a lot of times it's very emotional, where you want to go do something now, but sometimes I got to reel them in, step back. We're going to do this first to set them up to win these grievances and to actually dictate the grievance process through pushing that paper. But as far as this jobs goes, the 10 hours, you know, some people, I've seen some social media saying, oh, it'll be great with the, no, it won't. I mean, we fought for an 8-hour day. What happens from 8 to 10? That's no overtime. We're going to be losing a lot of money there. What happens to penalty time? I mean, there's no penalty time anymore. We fought for that. Okay. Sick time. What happens to your sick time? You call off sick. Now you got to be docked for 10 hours a day. What if you have an illness? Well, I mean, a long-term illness, you'll still be logging into 40 hours, but just one sick day here, one sick day there, you're logging 10 instead of 8. Same thing with annual leave, other than full weeks. You know, and when does OT start? Sorry, OT starts after 10 hours, or does it start still after 8 hours? It's going to be 10 hours. So they're in our pockets then. And I just don't like it. And the job situation there are going to be jobs lost, full-time jobs, full-time career jobs. And that's not what these younger crew that are like CCAs, PTS, a couple years in. I'm only 7 years in. It sounds great having that time off. I mean, I'm on the ODL list, all except for now in the summer because I like to try to golf. But you know, I get off it. But in the wintertime, the fall time, we have a master list around. We could go to bounce the 4 different installations to get max out at 12 hours a day. So I'm always in that upper echelon of 50 to 60 hours. Plus, that's not what I do for the union after that, too. But that does take a wear and tear on my body. I know that. I'm committed to it, but some people can't do that. What if someone is already in their twilight years of their career here? What if they're on 8-hour restrictions? How do you work it out then? I mean, some people can't do that. Some people will not be able to physically do the 10 hours a day. And especially when you get into the elements, and like I said, I'm in Northeastern Ohio. You know, you could have summer in the morning and winter in the afternoon, you know, or you could have winter a lot for months straight. But I'm not for it at all. That's absolutely insanity to think our job is going to be more beneficial going from 10 from 8 to 10. That no.
All
That's all
right.
I got.
Thank you. It was great having you on.
Thank you.
Let's see. Next up is Mr. G Whiskey.
All right, guys. So this 4 10-day or 4 days, 10 hours a day. Look, bottom line is it's going to cut our overtime. We already talked about that. It's going to destroy our overtime. Um, 4 days a week. It sounds great, right? We get 3 days off, 4 days a week. It's going to it's destroy our overtime. It's going to help me out.
It's your turn to talk. I'm not part of this group yet.
Oh, come on
Keep
now.
going.
Come on now. You see how
Don't be a mess.
see how she does me?
Use your words.
You know what? I think I'm done tonight. So I yield my time.
I don't think it would be the best
I think he
thing.
gave his shout outs earlier too to Rick.
He did. Yes.
I did.
Do you have any more?
No, Rick is awesome. That's all I got.
We're waiting to see what Rick has to say, but I don't think it would be the best thing to do that.
Thanks. It was good having you on, guys. Let's see.
Appreciate you.
You too.
You just
Oops. Let's see. All right, Jamie, it's your turn.
Well, I'll start off with a shout out. Of course, any 2819 out there or Hampton Roads in general, because there's a bunch of us out here. So hope you guys are doing well, especially whoever listened to the last 130 episodes. I think you said. And a shout out to those who came out for locally for our game day this last Sunday. So we had a lot of fun. Hopefully we'll start doing more stuff like that. So as far as the 410, I think it's like a lot of these pilot programs and these ideas. I think they can sound good, when you're behind the desk and you're trying to think of how does this cut costs, how does this cut this. But ultimately, I think that's what it's about. It's cutting overtime. But as somebody who I worked for Amazon 16, 17 years ago, I worked 4 10-hour shifts. That's how Amazon does their shifts in the warehouses. And it is a hard thing to do because you still often would get overtime, which means that puts you at 12. They almost always needed somebody to come in for a fifth and sixth day. You're not coming in for an easy 8 hours. You're coming in for another 10 or 12-hour shifts. And just looking at the history of the post office and how often mandations happen and everything like that, people aren't going to be working 4 10-hour days and that's it. Because I think we're going to be a little bit more short staffed because most people have a hard time doing 9 hours that we do now. But if you make 10 hours the norm, people are going to burn out. And then when you start mandating, your CCAs coming right in and they're working, 5, 6, 10-hour days, which obviously some of us do that. I'm an ODL hog. I love it. So I put in those hours, but it's one thing to elect to volunteer to do it because you can also, like the other guy said during the summer, say, hey, I want to go golf. And like anything else we've seen, it never works the way they say it's going to work, So I don't see all these days off happening. It's just, I think that's just the unfortunate, thing is, and they're trying to get people to hone in on those days off. But where in this country have people gotten the days off they were supposed to get off when working at the post office? So I just don't see it working at all the way people think it's going to. And like other people said, it's not gonna be a fun thing on our bodies. So I can go on and on about the 410 thing. So it's just we already have a hard time keeping people. So I don't think that's going to improve things because I can tell you at an Amazon warehouse, they did not keep people. People could not work those shifts constantly. So with that, I'll go ahead and yield whatever time I have, and I'm glad to get with you guys tonight. So
good to see you, like always, Jamie. All right, let's see. Next is Miziel Guzman, the new podcast guy.
Thank you, Josh. I think there's an overarching thing that we're missing, and in my opinion, it's really about us just going back to the basics. We're human beings, so it is ideal that we should have 8 hours of work. And this is the ideal. It's not always going to happen, but the ideal that we have the option to elect 8 hours of work, 8 hours of rest, and 8 hours of leisure. Like, that's a great thing. That is part of the benefit of working as a letter carrier. We can always get off the list for an entire quarter and just chill and work 8 hours and go home. A lot of us that work overtime a lot. But it's also like that's just the way of nature. Like nature requires us to rest that way. So what's going to happen is that we're going to create this compacted harm to our bodies, to our sleep cycles, everything. I think it's going to lead to more attrition in people quitting early. Like somebody said about people that are older, or their bodies aren't going to be able to take it. The younger we are, the more we can. But you know, lifestyle changes, life relationships, everything's going to be affected. Forget about I'm just putting the numbers aside and just thinking like I'm a human being. Like that whole remember you're gonna die someday. You know what I mean? Be grateful for right now, but it's like at the same time, I'm not gonna force an early grave. You know what I mean? So there are physical consequences to that. Besides that, I don't really give a shit. I don't have an opinion about, what people think and the numbers and all this. But I think that's the biggest important thing that just comes into mind because I haven't done the numbers. I haven't done the unintended consequences, and I haven't been able to focus on that. So I can't really speak on that. I'm sure there's a lot of other problems, but I'm just thinking on like the physical, long-term stuff. This is a blue collar job, it's rough on the body. We're on the elements. So that's just my opinion on that. And when it comes to shout outs, I'm not supposed to be here. I just want to say thank you. And I support your podcast for everything you do. And thanks for motivating me to do a podcast too. I just want to share some stuff that, from my perspective, I'm not perfect, and the only reason I became a steward is because management pissed me off. And I knew the station was suffering. And it turns out I like helping people, so whatever the NALC wants to use me for, I'm good with that. Whatever it is. If I'm going to go back to carry mail, I'm good with that too. So it's all good. I stay grateful. So I just want to say thank you, and thank you to anybody that knows me that listens to this or is going to listen. Thank you for your support. And I love our people. I love our people in Houston. They know it firsthand. One-on-one interactions, they know. You know what I mean? I'm just grateful. That's it, man. Thanks.
Awesome. And nobody knows this, and I know I shouldn't be adding things, but dude, Miziel is one of the few people I can get a hold of at 5, 6 a.m. Because I'm always up at like 4 a.m. doing grievances and doing everything else, and he's got the call from 6 a.m. Eastern time. If anyone else wants to take the time slot of 4, 5, and 7, you're welcome to try and get a hold of me because it's always fun having someone to talk to, and he's always there. But okay, looks like Rick is next.
I don't like this idea of 410s. First of all, I zero faith or trust that management could pull off executing it without colossal failures. They can't staff now, and if they could, we would probably eliminate a lot of overtime. But they can't staff now. How is 410s going to improve that, other than eliminating jobs? Turn 8-hour routes into 10-hour routes. That means they can cut routes. For every 5 routes, they could cut one because they can smash it into 5 10-hour routes now instead of 6 8-hour routes. I don't see it solving overtime. I see injuries going up, therefore workers' comp going up. Um, it's just it's so antithetical to the union movement. 8 hours work, 8 hours recreation, 8 hours rest. It's been said we're human beings, we're people, we're not machines. And I agree with the Trojan horse analogy. This is just a chance to chisel away at anything in the contract. They're trying to find a footing someplace to break it up as much as they can, break it down as much as they can, and eliminate as much as possible. And whether that's cost or people, they're trying to eliminate. I don't see any good coming of it. It'll be worse. I imagine they'll want to cut the rate of pay. Sure, we get overtime, but now it'll be just strictly anything over 40 hours. Doesn't matter if you do 8, 10, 12 in a single day. It just matters how many you get for the week. Yet this is all mind games, or this is all posturing and strategy to see what they can take from us next and how far they can go with it. So I don't like it one bit. And for my shout out to all the podcasters out there. I learned a lot from listening. Built quite the community from listening. Especially shout out to the Wrecking Crew and Josh. Great podcast. The information, the opportunity to express oneself and get it out there to the masses. It's important that we stay informed, stay educated, and by all means, please get out there and vote. Vote your conscience. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, but we can't keep headed down the path we've been headed. We need a change. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. It's always good to talk to you, Rick. You guys are too kind, man. You guys are awesome. Let's see. Last but not least, you look like you were bored, man. I'm sorry you had to wait so long, Tom. Go ahead and have your final say.
No, I like hearing everything. There's not much more to add. My major concerns are that jobs will be lost, routes will be bigger, the wear and tear. There's a lot of medical restrictions that would impact. I mean, the waves of it has me deeply, deeply concerned. But yeah, it does sound nice to get extra days off, but I like the Trojan horse analogy as well, because I think that is too. And I don't trust, not even for a second, that management would be able to institute this and, flawless. And it's like, oh yeah, this is the best thing ever. That would be surprising. So yeah. And as far as shout outs, I also echo all the podcasters out there, starting with you, Josh. I mean, I think just getting this kind of information out there to the rank and file, to new stewards wanting to be stewards, people that have been in the union for a long time. This is amazing. I think this is the strongest grassroots effort that I've seen within the NALC in a long time. And it gives me a lot of hope to see what it's going to look like in 2 or 3, 5 years. Keeps me around, keeps me hoping, because right, there's a lot of times I get really discouraged and depressed about things that are going on, but I just keep hoping it's going to turn around, because I talk to people like you guys. I listen to the podcast and I'm like, we just need to hang in there. I think it's going to turn out good down the road. So yeah, thanks for your time.
Thank you. And with that, I'll close it out. Now, you guys can hang around if you guys want to stick around for a little bit of commentary afterward, after I hit the no longer recording button. But I do want to wrap it up real quick. I do want to insert my own opinion. I also don't agree with the 10 hours, 4 days a week. And my reasoning is, and I don't think it's been talked about yet, but I could be wrong. Part of my reasoning, I'm against it in the same ways. But one thing that I don't remember hearing is, ever since COVID, every single job has had an issue with attendance. And that's fine, because people are learning that they're better off spending their life at home. And the problem with that, with the 10-hour schedule, is that every single call-in is worth 2 extra hours and every single person who needs to cover for that call-in is going to have to cover for an additional 2 extra hours. So that turns 5 call-ins or 4 call-ins into 5. You know, if you had like 4 guys call in, that's 40 hours of call-ins. And now we're already stretched thin as we are. I think that it would only make things worse. And that's why my last job used to give us this option. I used to work at Kroger, if anyone knows what that is, but they would give us an option for 4 10-hour days, but it would be at the discretion of both the employee and management. They'd have to agree that that was their schedule. Nobody was able to take it because Kroger was like, yeah, fuck that, because I want you to be available for me 5 days a week. If I need some coverage, I'm going to make you work some overtime. I don't want you being here 4 days a week. It's going to be harder to let you stretch to cover the absences. So they're going to find out it's not going to work out for them unless they hire a hell of a lot of CCAs. And I don't think they're planning on doing that. So it's just going to create, unfortunately, more undelivered mail. So it's just a terrible idea. I think it's stupid. And it would be in a tremendous weight to be able to implement because it's just a complete culture change. And I know they're trying to only do pilot programs, but I just feel like that the pilot program, it's going to fail. So just like, you know, the Caser router and everything else that they put out there that ended up having a short life. But yeah, it was good having you guys on. I think this went really well. It gives me a little bit of perspective as to how I want to set it up next time, make it run a little bit smoother, maybe come with a little bit less questions so that people can say as much as they want, and I don't have to give Guzman the timer. But it was good having you guys on here, man. Hopefully you learned something valuable today, and as always, have a good day.
If these guys are getting educated, we will be in big trouble.
Management's been weighing you down like a bag of wet catalogs, but you don't gotta take it. You strap on the elbow of education, dig it?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Roseville Wrecking Ball. The Roseville Wrecking Ball.
The Roseville Wrecking Ball is an Article 8 scholar, and thank God, we need Article 8 scholars right now. The Grievous Genius and the Roseville Wrecking Ball doing amazing work.
Tune into the Purses of Knowledge podcast while you're on the route. That's the Mailman's Playbook, brother.